Hi everyone, Agony Sadtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for us to get together, relax, and partake in a review of the new Sun Kil Moon record, Benji. Sun Kil Moon is the long-running singer-songwriter project of guitarist, actor, and lyricist Mark Kozelek. To many fans of underground music and indie rock and slowcore, he is most famously known for his part in the band Red House Painters, and he has a pretty sizable catalog of albums under his own name, along with a few collaborative LPs as well. The guy has had a really steady output since he was originally signed to a record label in the early 90s, a little fun fact that I know because he sings about it on this record, among many other things. Mark has had a very long career of writing songs, some of which are very long, detail-oriented, and kind of wordy. And this is a role he's grown more and more comfortable with as he's released more material under the Sun Kil Moon name. And now he's at a point where it seems like if he writes a song about two lovers fighting, that he would spend at least a verse or two telling you what time of day it is, what the weather is, their cat's name. He would list out at least 3 movies from their DVD collection. He's put out songs recently as well that seem to be just unashamedly meta and singing about his mindset when writing songs, or sort of the songwriting process or the lifestyle it has put him in. Or he throws out these personal stories that seem almost completely unedited in terms of information. There isn't anything that Mark is afraid to put into these tracks in terms of, whoa, this is too personal, oh, this might be embarrassing. There are tracks on this guy's last LP like Among the Leaves, such as track 8, which is actually not track 8 on the song's track list, but it is still a song about his life as a singer-songwriter, the business, the process. He touches down on some of these same themes as well on the track UK Blues, where he's singing about just not having a good time while touring internationally, being heckled, having difficult performances, being homesick. Among the Leaves was a really interesting record for Mark because of how deep it sort of let you into just about every thought in his mind, but it was a less direct album when compared with other Red House Painter records and Sun Kil Moon records as well. Also, Mark's vocal style on this LP felt really tired, haggard, kind of aged, but this album also had a really uniquely intimate charm to it as well. The songs on this LP meander and Mark's thoughts wander, and I think that makes these songs lose a little bit of impact. However, with this new LP from Sun Kil Moon, Benji, this LP is like a more gratifying take on this incredibly long-winded songwriting style. Every song on this LP seems so off the cuff, and yet all the tracks feel so purposefully fantastic. It's almost as if this LP is the result of Mark writing hundreds upon hundreds of very wordy, rambling songs just like these, and then whittling all of them down to just the best ones. I think Benji is so good that it could potentially become one of those gateway drug albums into the rest of Mark's discography, in which there are a lot of great records, but you know, every great artist every once in a while will put out one record that sort of seems to stand tall as a pinnacle and sort of grabs them a whole new fan base. I think Benji has tons of charm and tons of appeal, even if on the surface it seems like Mark is only doing half of the job of what we expect from a singer-songwriter. And what we expect is for a singer-songwriter to go through a significant emotional experience and then report back with the most interesting bits and then condense them down into a metaphor that we can relate to, comforting us as we move through this journey called life where we have no idea what we're doing. Instead of this, Mark gives us an incredibly comprehensive account of something that may have happened to him or another event of some sort, leaving in pieces that may not necessarily be all that interesting or purposeful, and then asking the audience to draw some kind of message or metaphor or meaning from it. Like on the closing track here, Ben's My Friend, where Mark seems to be singing about just having an average day, eating out with his girlfriend, ordering crab cakes. He goes to see the Postal Service play live. He's kind of in the midst of this middle-aged funk. And I think the song Dogs is worth mentioning off of this LP too, which seems like a list of every significant sexual experience that Mark had growing up. Keep in mind, much of the time Mark is singing these songs with a vocal delivery that only seems a shade or two away from spoken word. And all of Mark's words are backed up with very warm, classical guitar, just that nice nylon string sound, and very gentle folk rock instrumentation, background vocals, upright bass, drums. It all feels really tender and sort of rickety and organic. And I think overall this LP is really well put together instrumentally. There are a lot of parts here musically that hit me, that move me, like the dreary vocal harmonies on the track CARISSA, the eerie harmonized guitar leads at the end of the song NEWTOWN, the booming drums that pop in on the second half of the song Dogs, the electric piano on the song Jim Wise has a really nice slow patient pace to it that sets the tone for the song perfectly. The sax on Ben's My Friend, stellar. And the layers of fluttering guitars that create this beautiful interlude on the end of the song remains the same. All this instrumentation is a fantastic foundation for the stories on this record, which essentially are what captivate me the most. They're all heartbreaking, they're all thoughtful, and relatable too when given some contemplation. Like on the track CARISSA, where he is singing about the sudden death of his second cousin, and even though he has very few and faint memories of her, he still feels compelled to write a song for her and create some kind of tribute in memory of her. And he's singing about her kids and how she died and how his family is grieving. Oddly enough, she passed away in roughly the same way that Mark's uncle did as well, an exploding aerosol can in the trash. A story he tells a little deeper into this album on the track Truck Driver. Mark tributes his parents beautifully on this record as well with 2 separate tracks, I Can't Live Without My Mother's Love and I Love My Dad. The song about his mother saying he needs her love there, he needs her friendship, her companionship. He defends her and he dreads the day that she's going to pass away. And on the track about his father, Mark's angle changes a little bit to something more nostalgic, where he's singing about all of these life lessons and experiences he had with his dad. It's more of a musical portrait of his father and Mark's past with his father versus what he gets from his dad right now. And all of this reminiscing over the past seems really great, but these tracks really seem to make sense with the theme of the album and what Mark's mindset is when these songs are sort of backed up against tracks like Ben's My Friend and Richard Ramirez Died Today of Natural Causes. Songs that are mired in a slew of fleeting thoughts and personal musings, but are really reflections on one's own mortality via aches and pains and fatigue and sudden death. And the song Ben's My Friend, in a way, is sort of about being in that funk created and caused by all of those things and pushing past it, being competitive. Even the satellite stories on this LP that don't directly play into these themes are fantastic. Like the song Jim Wise, which is essentially about a friend of Mark's father's who mercy killed his wife and now is sort of under house arrest and will most likely be in jail very soon due to the choice that he made. And Mark describes Jim Wise from beard to ankle bracelet. And the song Micheline is a beautiful little track about 3 different people in Mark's life over the course of different ages who were only wanting to live like anyone else, but for whatever reason, they sort of incurred serious misfortune. Micheline herself being disabled mentally, one of Mark's friends dying suddenly of a and Mark's grandmother being diagnosed with cancer. Not to make this entire LP just seem like this really depressing, terrible, awful, melancholy thing. I mean, you know, there's definitely sadness on this LP. There's definitely moments on here where no matter how old you are, you're going to be facing your mortality a little bit on this LP. Not everyone gets a fair chance in life or a fair shot. Some people's opportunities are sort of cut short, unfortunately. But there's something sort of comforting about Mark tearing open this middle-aged man thoughts closet and just ripping out all the skeletons. He's just getting a lot of things that people actually think and feel and experience out there in the open. And again, it all feels so relatable and it all feels so real, despite Mark being so specific with these stories that he's the only person who really experienced or, you know, saw or heard any of it firsthand. We're only sort of experiencing it through his lyrics, but still. Oddly enough, with the really low-key instrumentation and Mark's rambling, very wordy lyrics on this record, this LP is one of the easiest hours of music I've ever sat through. Not a moment did I feel like, wow, I really want this to be over. There are a few moments on this LP where I wish the vocals were a little bit more intelligible. I do wish overall that the instrumentation was a bit more varied, that the end of the closing track on here was a bit more final, and I do think the song remains the same, like the movie itself is just a tad long-winded, but still, I thought this was a fantastic record and will no doubt be one of my favorites of the year. I'm feeling a decent to strong 9 on this thing. Transition, if you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Sun Kill Moon, forever.